know, I've been to Alberta so many times. I've combined whitetail with mule deer, black bear, moose. You know, there's so many tags you can get at that time of the year that it's just an amazing place to be.
After 9 days of hard hunting these elusive Alberta mule deer, it looks like Gus has finally got himself into position to make a shot on a mature buck. The buck has worked his way to the backside of the field. This is where Gus's summer practice will come into play to help him make this long shot.
I hit him. I hit him. I see blood. He's just walking off. It's been a nightmare here with these fields. And all the crop are cut. And here, we got an arrow in him. I say we let him lay till morning. We just came back to where we hit this deer last night. Found the arrow, the blood's pretty dried. Looks like I could have hit him a little back. We're not sure. We're following some blood down to this creek bottom and it ends. So we're gonna follow it down and see if we can get on him. We found a lot of coyote track near him, so I don't know if they pushed him last night, but hopefully we can get on him today.
Fortunately for Gus, he was able to find this velvet buck, but at a great cost. It looks like Gus will not be able to bring much, if any, meat from his mule deer back home with him.
This year I went back to Alberta to hunt with a good buddy of mine, Mike Larson, the owner of South 40 Outfitters. You know, we had a plan this year. We were going to get there. We're going to do a whitetail hunt, mule deer, and moose. Combine that all together. So I knew this was going to be nonstop action, and we were going to have some long days.
After Gus arrives at camp, it's time to make sure his Obsession bow and Carbon Express arrows are still hitting the mark before they head out to scout for mule deer.
You know, first, when you get to Alberta, especially that time of year, it's early in the season. So if you can get the deer on their feeding patterns, you got a good chance of harvesting a good whitetail. I remember in years past hunting some incredible whitetail, some real exciting hunts early in the season while the deer could be patterned. So we had a few whitetail we were targeting that we thought we'd have a good pattern on them, leaving food, coming back to bedding. We got a few hawk tree stands set and got ready for the next couple of days. Set some stands the other night for whitetail. We're here in Alberta and we have moose tag, mule deer tag, and whitetail tag. We just sent these stands up the other night. It's a good piece of bush. There's some deer have been working their way through here. We saw some out in the field. I'm going to sit here the next couple of nights and see if we get on the buck that we saw.
Well, we're located in central Alberta, smack right in the central between Edmonton and Calgary, Alberta. The heart of all agricultural land. Whitetails, I like to focus on 140 class and up. And there are some big guys around here. It's just being at the right place at the right time.
Unfortunately, nothing came our way while we were on stand. We did have some good trail cam pics of some big bucks, but nothing worked out for us with the whitetail. So next we were on to mule deer. So we had a good deer, we had him patterned. He was coming into this alfalfa field every day at a certain time. So we were gonna get set up and hunt this deer. Well, we got this blind set up on this alfalfa field, and there's a really well-worn trail here coming out of that barley coming this way. They're coming out of this bush where they're bedding. They get into this alfalfa and they feed. Mike had a hunter here last week who saw 12 different deer in this field, so this seems like a good setup for tonight, and we'll check it out, pop this blind up along this fence line, and hopefully something comes in. We had a good deer that we targeted. Now, the only thing about where we were in Alberta was I've hunted up in the Peace River for years. There's some mega mule deer up there. I mean, some of the biggest mule deer I've ever seen come from that northern Alberta. But down in the south, the deer are just a little bit smaller. But again, you're targeting an animal for the area you're in, and this was a good deer for southern Alberta.
With a good mule deer buck picked out and Gus's ambush spot all set up, It's time to see if their prep work will pay off.
We spotted a buck last night here in this field, and there was just no way to get on him. So today we got in early. We got alfalfa on both sides of us. It's cut down the other end, so he's been staying in this green stuff. He bedded up in here last night, and we couldn't see where he was. It was pretty thick, so we crawled in, got in this ditch. The wind is good. I think we'll be okay to set up here, and we could plant our stalk from where we are. There was just no way to get on him yesterday. At least this time we'll be able to get a beat on where he is, get a location, possibly get our stalk on tonight. We just spotted two doe that were bedded in that alfalfa field. We saw them last night with that buck. We thought they came up from the bottom, but they've been bedding in that alfalfa, so we're in real good position right now. The wind's in our favor. We don't see the buck yet, but we keep looking, see if he might be bedded with them. So we had a good pattern on this deer. We got into a ditch. We were all set up. I had my cameraman blending into a pine tree that was there. There wasn't much cover, and like I said, I was down in a ditch, and here comes this buck. He enters the field. We got the cameras rolling, we're on him. He works his way feeding towards us about 60 yards, just getting ready for him to turn and present us with a shot. And all of a sudden, we hear a noise in the background. Well, the farmer had just cut the other side of this field, had his hay bales out, and unfortunately, that afternoon, he happened to be checking his bales, and the deer heard the side-by-side from far away and kind of just spooked off. And that was the end of the chance at this mule deer. So after the mule deer didn't work out, our full concentration was on moose. Now, I've hunted moose for years in Alberta. It was the first moose I ever shot was in Alberta out of a tree stand. And we graduated to calling them in. I was working with a good buddy of mine, Cam Cook, who was my guide at the time, and we finally got a moose to come in, answer our calls, and get it on camera. I was working with a good buddy of mine, Cam Cook, who was my guide at the time, and we finally got a moose to come in, answer our calls, and get it on camera.
That was intense, brother. Intense.
Well, an amazing hunt. We spotted this moose out across the muskeg. He must have been about 1,000 yards away. We got out with the decoy, started calling, started raking some trees. He came across, he didn't come to the decoy. He came a little bit to the right. I'm hoping we got the camera on him. We couldn't move because he came into it 23 yards, I think it was. So Mike was a guide at the camp that I was in. So I knew Mike really knew the area that we were hunting. We were going after bulls every day. We had multiple stalks, calling bulls in, just not the size of the bull we were looking for.
Luckily for this young bull, Gus is looking for something a little more mature, but Gus isn't about to let this opportunity go to waste. So he decides to try to hone some of his moose hunting techniques and put them to the test against the real thing.
Maybe I shouldn't call him any closer, otherwise we might be taking him. Oh, oh, that was awesome. That was awesome. Having some fun with that young bull. Wasn't an animal we were going to take, but kind of honing our skills a bit and calling them. It's pretty cool, but this time of year when the rut's coming in, they can be dangerous. So that was cool. We'll find another one.
An average bull moose that we usually like to harvest is I like to get around the 40-inch mark. You know, for archery kills, you know, first-time hunters, you know, you're always happy with that, with the 40-inch bull. We like to spot and stalk and mainly try to hit the rut at the end of September, start of October. If you're a hardcore hunter, we start at 6 in the morning and not home until 10 o'clock at night. And that covers 3 species of animals. We hunt moose in the morning, mule deer midday. The evening hits, we're usually moose or whitetail, whatever's moving the best in whatever area we're in. Yeah, if you're more of a chill back hunter, we'd like to, we'll go out in the mornings, do our spot and stalking for moose or even mule deer if that's the fact, and also come back for lunch and then head back out for an evening hunt. We can accommodate all types of hunters here.
Another thing I use is dead downwind odorless oil. I use it on different parts, any moving parts that I have on my equipment. It's set free and it works great. You listen to this release, you hear some squeaking. Well, I'm dealing with the rain and that's gonna make any moving parts squeak. I spray this dead downwind oil on it and like I said, it's odorless, it works great. And as you could hear it, no sound. I use that any moving parts on my bow or my release. So on this trip, we had lots of encounters with smaller bulls. Called them in. It was so exciting, you know, and one thing about this time of year is you're starting early in the morning and you're coming in late because the days are so long. I mean, it doesn't get dark till 10 o'clock at night. So you're really having a lot of time in the field calling and pursuing animals. Finally, one cold morning, we spot this bull, and he's making his way across the field, crosses a fence line that we don't have permission to go on. So let me explain something about Alberta. They do not allow you to exchange money to lease land, so you can't lease property. So you can get permission to be on private property, and that's the way you hunt it, or your outfitter happens to own it, that's fine too. On this particular piece, we did not have permission. Now, my outfitter, Mike, knows the person who owns the property, but he didn't ask for the permission. So although we had this incredible encounter with this big bull, we tried calling him back to the piece that we did have permission on. He was just having none of it. He stopped a bunch of times, looked back at us. I'll relive that moment forever of seeing that bull look back, just seeing the smoke coming out of his mouth. You know, that feeling of, boy, you really want to go after him, but if you don't have permission in Alberta, you don't trespass. But later that day, Mike did get permission on that property from the landowner. We pursued that bull. You know, we hunted him for the next 4 days. My heart was set on shooting that bull. We tried a few different things. Like I said, we were hunting off a big alfalfa field where most of these bulls would come out at night and they'd follow the cows that were there. The rut wasn't totally on, but they were just starting to get aggressive. We just never got a chance at that bull again.
We saw this real nice bull this morning, and we did not have permission to come on this property, so we let him alone. Got permission, came back tonight, kind of set up where he went in. Didn't do much calling. We know there's a couple of cow moose in here. Kind of thought he hooked up with them. And they've been coming out every night to feed in this alfalfa field, but nothing moved tonight. I think we might stay on this bull the next couple of days that we're here because he's a pretty good bull and hopefully we can get on him.
So unfortunately on this trip, my heart was set on that one bull and we never saw him again. And it's just amazing how I progressed in my moose hunting, where I was so happy to take the first bull, any bull, a legal bull with my bow, then calling a bull in on camera, which was incredible, getting that bull down, then looking for just mature animals. And you know, your chances are, you know, they're gonna get a lot smaller when you're only looking for a certain size animal. It doesn't lessen the experience for me. I did have a lot of immature bulls and smaller animals that I could have had a shot at. So just doing that, even though I didn't shoot, was part of the whole experience. And then seeing the bull that I wanted to go after, even though I didn't get him, was still just an incredible time and experience. And I can't wait to get back here next year and go after a bull like that.